and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you all to the 6th International Procurement and Supply Chain Conference 2021, presented by Blue Ocean Conferences.
This is the biggest gathering I've seen since the beginning of the pandemic. I congratulate you on the selection of the theme of this conference: One World, One Supply Chain, Evolution of Connected Global Supply Chain Community. As I said, it goes very well with also the theme of the Expo.
On our first panel this morning, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Douglas Kent, Executive Vice President, Strategy and Alliances at Association for Supply Chain Management. Mr. Eisa Ahmed Al Shamsi, Director of Procurement at the University of Sharjah. Dr. Hassan Gardezi, Senior Faculty at Blue Ocean Academy. And finally, Mr. Piyush Malviya, Senior Director and Head at EMEA Business for Moglix. Ladies and gentlemen, your first panel.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's a pleasure and an honor to start our day with the first panel session and on one of the most intriguing topics of the day: artificial intelligence in procurement and supply chain. I'm sure you all are going to enjoy this panel discussion, for I have on the stage with me some of the expert brains from procurement and supply chain and masters of artificial intelligence themselves. The global workforce is undergoing a massive technological shift that many are now calling as the fourth industrial revolution. According to the recent World Economic Report, nearly a third of the most important skill sets in the coming years is going to be technological skills. Let me begin by asking this question to our panelists: artificial intelligence sharing the workload and lessening the burdens of procurement and supply chain? If so, how? Any one of you can now begin.
Thank you, Percy. I think it's a very broad and pertinent question, and I would want to highlight 3 scenarios wherein we see artificial intelligence reducing the burden of procurement supply chain professional. Number 1, I would say, is, how do you use artificial intelligence to better analyze and draw actionable insights from big data, which can, result into new age decision making, like supplier risk management, like which region, which supplier, assessing the risk profile basis the publicly available data. Number 2 would be driving better process efficiency by automating a lot of day-to-day decision making, which eventually enables procurement as a function to become more strategic and less transactional in nature. Number 3, I would say, is around contract management and compliance, wherein, we see a lot of organizations already progressing a great way in which, how they are managing their contracts, how they are drawing the compliance around contracts using artificial intelligence, and hence, foreseeing and forecasting any kind of compliance errors in future.
Thank you, Piyush. Thank you, Piyush. I would now take over and ask Piyush, from what you have said, that speeding the information flow and reducing inefficiencies equips supply chains to operate effectively. Taking this on, Doug, what do you feel? Are there any challenges of artificial intelligence in the supply chain context?
Are there any, or are there many, I guess is the question.
Many.
I would say there are really 3 major challenges. The first, of course, is data, right? So data in is very important to ensure that the data integrity is there to feed any capabilities around artificial intelligence. The second is talent. As Katie mentioned in the opening, we've accelerated our digital transformation. We took a 5-year plan and forced it into a 12-month agenda. So having the talent to be able to support the technology, where technology is now no longer the problem, it's actually the talent that feeds that. And the last one is trust. We have to feed data from a lot of different constituencies, and those constituencies we have to trust to be able to support that data.
Thank you, Doug. So supply chain organizations expect the level of machine automation. We all know that supply chain and artificial intelligence may be a new buzzword today, but artificial intelligence was there way back in the 60s. Man and machine came together, blockchain, revolution, we had robotics. Going forward, Hassan, and that comes to your area of operations, what and in how can artificial intelligence transform warehousing and inventory management?
I think the proof that artificial intelligence really works within warehousing and is benefiting supply chains is already there. And I would like to draw your attention to a couple of reports, credible reports, like there's a McKinsey survey that clearly highlights that about 61% of manufacturers are already reaping the benefits of decreased costs by deploying AI solutions, and that is directly traceable to better inventory management, estimation, and forecasting. There's also a report by PwC, and I think this is very important, that organizations that are willing to adopt AI solutions today will enjoy a first mover's advantage, because AI solutions have a learning curve and they are still evolving themselves. And AI applications are projected to bring benefits of about $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. So definitely, just to summarize quickly, within warehousing and inventory management, AI solutions can definitely assist in estimation, forecasting, demand planning, optimizing certain selective inventory control methods like the FSN, for example, to be more agile and to reply to subtle changes in demand, I would say. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say, but then we are compressed for time.
So basically what we are referring to is the speed in decision making, speed in reducing cycle time, speed in operations, and speed in continuous improvement. Eisa, taking it from here, I mean, how would you say that, what is the future of artificial intelligence in global procurement and supply chain management practices?
Good morning. I believe artificial intelligence is the future itself. We'll be having a full end-to-end visibility. Especially looking at to the UAE, we have UAE stressed the importance of artificial intelligence itself by, we have a Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence, and we have a strategy 2030, a national strategy for artificial intelligence. So we are preparing for the future. So we need to be ready for it.
Thank you. So, friends, we all agree that artificial intelligence is a pervasive and general purpose technology that has already spawned many disruptive and incremental innovations, fueling what often are inflated expectation of what this technology is capable of now and in the future. May I request any one of you to take it forward? What are the challenges we are facing? Because this buzzword of artificial intelligence has been there for a long time, but we don't see the adaptation and adoption of this technology in its full force. And why is it so, if not? And if yes, then how are we going forward?
I think we should remove the word artificial and just call it intelligence, actually.
True.
So I think as His Excellency just stated earlier, you know, this whole rise in e-commerce is really putting a challenge to the effective nature of what artificial intelligence can do for us, right? We can't just simply manage by more efficiency in our physical network. It's our information flow which is really required. And we have every expectation that the e-commerce transactional activity is going to continue to increase. But let's not forget that it's also the reverse logistics which is also critically important for us to be able to manage. Our forward logistics flow is much more advanced in its maturity than our reverse logistics flow. So gaining artificial intelligence to manage also reverse because of the rise of e-commerce is also critically important for us. So it's really not about artificial intelligence, it's really about intelligence and harnessing not just big data, but small data, unstructured data, structured data, etc., is absolutely critical to this equation.
How do we think that the suppliers in the industry are also ready? How do we bring them on board with sustainability being a buzzword and intelligence, machine learning, robotics? Where are we heading actually? And what are we expecting from our suppliers to amalgamate their learnings and their capacity to match the providers?
So I could answer that, or I can comment on that one. One of the, say, challenges we can consider is having the proper infrastructure and the processes to fit to the AI. So for instance, currently, like we have found that most of entities, and their core strategy doesn't have a digitalization strategy. It's more with an IT functional strategy. So later on, when going back to the leadership or to the board of trustees to have that set of infrastructure and the lengthy time and convincing them to have the return of investment is a challenge itself.
Thank you, sir. I think Hassan wants to add something to that. Thank you. Go ahead, Hassan.
Thank you. I'll just capitalize on what the other speakers have said. I think if we look at the top 3 or 4 issues that are preventing the permeation of artificial intelligence technologies within the industry, one, as Doug rightly said, I think it's also important to consider the existing layers, the inputs that will go into AI applications. And this is where I think master data management comes into the picture. It's like garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, so people have to really go back and visit their existing databases and sources of information. And of course, I think another concern that still exists in the industry when it comes to suppliers and organizations not adopting AI solutions is, I suppose, that a lot of AI applications and data currently is being stored in the cloud. Yeah, and that can be a huge barrier and something that deters people to adopt it. And I think this is where now people have already started to realize, procurement professionals, that things like supplier relationship management matter. Yeah, in order to engage with those suppliers and convince them of the benefits that we can jointly reap if we collaborate.
Big data, big data analytics, information. Well, I think it will be nice to also engage the audience. I think they are all interested to share something more. I would like to ask anybody in the audience, can you name a country that has really adopted and adapted artificial intelligence at its very best? Come on. It's the United Arab Emirates. Let's give a round of applause to UAE. The foresight and the visionary leaders and the way UAE has adopted artificial intelligence is way beyond what one can even look forward from other countries in the world. And post-pandemic, the challenges that UAE adopted and came out forward is the reason of artificial intelligence at its very best. So I now look forward to some questions from the audience. You have the great panelists over here. Come on, shoot your questions, share your concerns, let's elevate it. Anyone from the audience? I'm sure you have an interesting question.
My name is Dr. Sunil. My question to you, how the blockchain technology and artificial intelligence can cooperate with each other?
Good question. Actually, I would say for artificial intelligence to be really successful, it cannot just be seen as the only solution. It has to be seen in a bigger context with other technologies like blockchains and especially Internet of Things, which has the capability to generate a lot of data for us, which AI solutions can then use. But then when it comes to blockchains, I would say blockchains provide us with a platform, a collaborative platform for various stakeholders within a supply chain to come together and then leverage that platform using AI solutions and applications, for example, to ensure end-to-end visibility, for example, for goods that have left a manufacturing facility in origin down to the destination where multiple stakeholders are involved, banks that are, for example, involved in financing the transaction through letters of credits, where a carrier is involved in terms of issuing a bill of lading, for example, customs authorities in origin and destination, retail teams downstream, that are looking into insights. So I think blockchain provides us with that platform on which multiple stakeholders can come, decide to collaborate, and then when they collaborate, they will generate a lot of transactions and data. How do they then leverage that data and information? In my opinion, this is where AI comes in and helps all of them to generate insights, take better decisions, and yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I think the blockchain was the first step, and then Internet of Things, and then it gave rise to artificial intelligence. That created the platform for artificial intelligence. Doug?
Well, I think you've hit on exactly the biggest challenge that we have, and that is that individual investments in digital capabilities without the thoughtful integration, as Eisa mentioned, to the overarching strategy is in fact the problem. So proving a return on investment for an individual blockchain investment or AI investment or advanced analytics investment or IoT investment is a very difficult challenge, because without the integrated technology, the end-to-end enterprise will not receive the benefits. So this is very important to make sure that your digitization strategy overall, inclusive of all of these technologies, matches what the business strategy is, as Eisa mentioned earlier. And then you can have a proven ROI.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Yes, we have somebody over there. Yes.
Good morning. Two questions. How far can you push AI until it just becomes, to Doug's point, I? And is there an inherent risk in relying on AI too much in the future?
The future is AI. The future is AI, but let's go.
Yeah, I think I would take the second question first, right? Is there a risk involved? And many a times, there are sayings that AI is going to replace jobs, or, AI is going to replace humans. I would rephrase it and say that, humans who can better manage AI and better program AI are going to replace the ones who are afraid of AI or who cannot really manage AI, right? I think that's the reality. So what's important is, if data is the new IQ, curiosity is the new EQ. And you have to be curious to learn and know and upgrade yourself. As long as we are doing that, we are good, right? And it's never going to, AI is only going to be an enabler. It can't overpower humans, right? Only thing is we have to be curious, we have to be innovative, we have to be, at our peak to, in terms of learning ability, we have to be very agile.
Man created machines, so machines can't replace man. Take it on.
Well, I think a conference with 800 robots wouldn't be that attractive overall. So, but I think again, just to reinforce, if we look back 5 years ago and we thought about AI, we would have said the biggest challenge is the access and availability to the data and the technology to support it. Today, it's talent. So the need for AI is greater than our ability to support it with the talent of the people who are necessary to have the skills and the competencies to manage effectively the AI technology. So the technology is no longer the limitation. The availability and scalability of the talent is in fact the biggest challenge.
Anybody else, please, from the audience? Yes, we have somebody there. Thank you. On your left, yes?
The question here is, I've read an article saying, what is the main reason artificial intelligence, machine learning is not used so often? And the answer was that you don't trust the output. Right now we have a lot of many data, but the management used to understand why we have a specific output. So get back to the input. The data, the artificial intelligence, you have to trust the output you have. So there is a trade-off on explain the output and the efficiency. Artificial intelligence give you a great results in terms of efficiency, accuracy, but sometimes it's not explicable. So how can you do that? Should you leverage on culture? It is difficult, but I want to understand your opinion on that.
Okay, it's about adaptability. Concern maybe, again, cost and skills.
I mean, I get the question, and I would just like to reinforce what Doug said, for example. One thing that needs to happen here at this point, and I like to use this word, and that is organizations have scaled back on building skills and competencies in people. So I think employability is an extremely important word here. We need to actually invest. Yes, we need to invest in the technologies like AI, but then we also need to invest in employability skills to make sure that people understand, for example, when AI leverages, or an AI application leverages data and gives you an insight, unless the decision making is automated, it is still going to be you and me who is going to take a decision. Yeah. So things like decision making, critical thinking, being able to join insights and then being able to extrapolate that and to correlate it with the business operation and take a prudent decision. I think that reinforces what Doug said, that people are still going to be relevant. It's just that the skills required will change. Yeah. I hope that answers that answers your question.
If you allow me to add
Sure.
that one. Change management is crucial here. To change a culture, any change, you'll face a resistance on it. So you should have a proper change management strategy, plus a communication strategy. You need to make sure that in your change, everybody's engaged. It's not about only the couple of departments.
Maybe just to finalize the point here, the conundrum is not new. It's the same one we had when we introduced advanced planning systems, and people didn't trust it because, in fact, we were using machine learning, and it was not intuitive that the output was connected to the input. How did we overcome the situation? Exactly the same way we would now. We continue to run scenarios, and we measure the results of those, right? And let's not under-anticipate the need to consistently make adjustments, and therefore the dependency on the machine learning, because nothing in this world is remaining static. And this last 12 months has certainly proven that. So I think it's the same change management challenge that we had when we first introduced how do we increase forecast accuracy using advanced planning technology. We had exactly the same challenge. We will overcome this, but don't underestimate the need for measurement, right? To really put the right metrics in place to ensure that the output is giving the results that we anticipate.
Thank you, Doug. And I think from what Eisa said, every change has to begin with something to end. And it's our mindsets that are only blocking us to move ahead. If we change this mindset, there is no holding back, and the world accepting, adopting, and adapting artificial intelligence. I will take one more question from the audience.
Good morning.
Very good morning. Who's that?
Good morning,
please?
panelists. This is Ishwar Padmanabhan. I work for the higher education industry domain. As rightly mentioned, what kind of skill sets are we actually looking at? I mean, which is going to emerge with all these disruptive technologies that are coming up? And what would be the opportunities that will be created? And is Blue Ocean going to come up with some courses on artificial intelligence?
Oh, definitely, yes. On part of Blue Ocean, yes. We are always expanding, looking at new things. In fact, we are also going now ahead with warehouse consultancy, again in a big way. Yes, get connected to Blue Ocean and you're going to come up with some amazed things that we are going to get it and create the workforce for tomorrow. There is no doubt about that. However, on the skill sets, I would like to have any of our panelists answer. What are the skill sets that will then take us in that future? What is the workforce that we are looking for?
So I would quote an example here, for supply chain, for artificial intelligence, like drones is a new technology, right? When we hire for drones, people who know drones, and we, go out in the market to hire, in fact, the best guys who know most about drones is probably a 16-year-old sitting next to you in the airplane flight, right? He's the guy who knows more about drones than whatever CVs you get in the market, right? The point I'm trying to make here is, whenever we look for hiring people for artificial intelligence, for technology role, curiosity is the biggest thing that we look for, whether they are curious about new things, whether they are ready to experiment, whether they know it first, whether they are, are they too afraid to try out new things, right? Then that's maybe not the right signal for a guy.
Thank you, Piyush. So what I'm going to do is, there is never an end to anything. There is always a beginning, and this is just the beginning. Get excited, look forward to this day. Some more excellent panel discussions and esteemed speakers will be joining us. But right now, on behalf of the esteemed guest, the audience, our supporters, and the panelists, we thank all of you for giving us this time. Hope you enjoyed this intriguing session on artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Do stay where you are, because I would now like to invite Mr. Abdulaziz, Chairman of Blue Ocean Academy, and Ms. Noba Nobot, Head of IATA Operations at Blue Ocean Academy, to show a token of their appreciation.